Okay, we made it. What's up? A good afternoon, everybody. So today we're going to talk about internet scamming people, and it's all the people that you think are probably okay, are not okay. All the people with clout, I mean, most of them anyway. All the people with big followings, all the stuff. Most of these people are scammers, and we're looking at okay, Sadia Khan just came out as a scammer. I'm a little late to the story as far as like saying anything on it. I'm not a reporter, but we are going to, it's not even, this isn't even going to be a full live stream just about her. This is going to be about the vast amounts of internet scamming that goes on in the self help industry in general, as well as especially the dating relationship space. I'm in both. I help guys with their mental game, their mental fitness. I help healthy people become better, higher performers on the psychology side of things, as well as helping people with persuasion, communication, and relationship related skills like dating, getting girls to like you, seduction, sex, and managing a long-term relationship, right? So these are things that I do, and there are very talented people out there, not just me. Okay, there's other people out there that are pretty good at what they do, but here's what you run into: these guys, the guys that are good at what they do, um, and I run into this myself. It's like I'm not an internet marketer, like I'm learning how to be. Do you know what I mean? I'm hiring people who are, but like I'm not somebody who is an influencer. Influencer is like fifth thing on the list for what I do. I do stuff with the military still. I do stuff with my business and my clients and side business, and then I'm an influencer. Like it's like number 5 on my list. So I'm not really sure or as talented as some of these influencers are at getting millions of followers. Do you know what I mean? Like that's not where my talent lies. I'm working on it, but that is a special skill set really to be able to fight through algorithms and get in and to gain an audience and gain that level of traction. Um and a lot of times people who have that skill set, here's what happens. People who don't have other things a lot of times work on becoming an influencer and having that skill set, and then when they build a brand and they're good at that, but there's nothing behind that brand. So what I mean by that is like, okay, they're not an expert at anything. They don't have thousands of people they've helped in their field that are giving them results. I mean, there are some, of course, who are both and do it really well, but many of the people that you guys turn to for help don't have that. They were an influencer first. They came onto YouTube to talk about stuff and they're good at it. And then they say, okay, well, I'm going to parlay a course or a program or do coaching based off that. And the problem is these programs are very low value. They don't deliver what you would like from the program. They certainly don't deliver what's promised because their strong suit is marketing and getting you to buy shit. It's their strong suit is not, and also being an influencer. Their strong suit is not necessarily helping you with your problem. All right. So there's a difference between helping you with your problem and having internet clout. Some people can do both. So right. There's some like, I mean, for example, like Andrew Huberman. Okay. He's a real deal neuroscientist and is also an influencer. And because of his background and some of his stuff and probably who he hires, he does both of them very well. So hats off to that guy. He does a good job, right? But there's an example of someone with a background who actually does a thing and then they're also an influencer. But you don't usually run into that. What you run into is a lot of frauds, okay, and a lot of people making stuff up. So I'll sum up the Sadia Khan thing pretty quickly by sharing this little thing. Um, I'm going to back up though. So I'm also doing a live show. I'm going to plan to do this Wednesdays at noon. My schedule sometimes like goes a little bit out of, it's not as much in my control with some of the other things that are going on in my life, but we'll plan to do this at noon. Okay. So hopefully I'll see you guys here and we'll talk about different topics. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions live on the air too, throwing something in the chat, and maybe I can get to your question. If you do a super chat or one of those little things to get my attention, I'll definitely address whatever it is. I also have a community. It's for men who want to better themselves, do better in their relationships, in their dating game, and also better your inner game, okay, and your mindset and mental performance. And so both those things, it's free. There's a link in the description of the video. You can go there. All right, so we got that all the way. I had just done a video recently on the baseball Karen. That thing's going viral. So I just thought I'd share this real quick because this is pretty fun. This is pretty funny. I got to get to the let me do the sharing. I know I'm not as quick at is this the one? Maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. Nope. Okay, hold on. Maybe this is it. Yeah. All right, here we are. All right.
She steals baseball. She was born with a complaint form in her hand. She's been divorced more times than she's been married. She doesn't leave tips, she leaves suggestions. She steals baseballs from 10-year-old kids and then complains about how spoiled kids are these days. She is raising her kids to be Reddit moderators one day. Her voice hasn't dropped below 85 decibels her entire life. She once won an argument with a manager at a restaurant she wasn't even eating at. She calls the cops on kids' lemonade stands for not having a permit. She actually changed her name to Karen. She asks to speak to the manager before the store is even built. She gets the same haircut every week and still complains to the manager about it every time. She wears a mask in her car, alone.
Nice.
Her Yorkshire Terrier dog has the same Karen haircut as her. She once asked to speak to the pilot, mid-flight. She once called the fire department because her neighbors were having a cookout. When she walks into a store, the staff call the manager right away, without her ever saying anything. She gets in fights about spot stealing for street parking on streets she doesn't even live on. She is the most Karen woman in the world.
All right, so that was fun, right? Anyway, thought I would share that little bit fun little piece there for you guys. That's the Phillies Karen. Did a little video on it, breaking it down pretty good. Here's the reason why I'm hammering this. It falls in line with a message. There's a message I'm going to have to you guys. I'm going to hammer pretty consistently, right? And most of you guys who are consistent audience or follower of my stuff, you guys who are in my community, I know that you don't do this. You're not guilty of this in the same way, but we still need to fight against some of the social conditioning that's not good, right? So the social conditioning is not good for relationships between men and women. Hasn't been good for a while, and it's been terrible for masculinity. You need men to have a positive masculine identity in order for relationships to work well. And women are realizing that more and more now. And so you're seeing a shift away from some of the anti-masculinity versions of feminism that's been around like for a while and has been escalating, right? So you're seeing a little bit of a shift. I talk about some of the positive signs in that shift from this whole Phillies baseball thing, right? But one thing worth mentioning too is, and I'm going to do another talk about this, about standing up to women. Look, my opinion is the guy shouldn't have gave the ball up. A lot of people are sort of defending him like, well, like maybe he should have, and maybe it was all right. Here's the thing. It's not even about whether he should or shouldn't have. I think I'll address that in another stream because that's not the topic for today anyway. But the real issue is this. If you guys are afraid of women and you can't stand up to a woman who's a stranger, who's out of line, who's behaving inappropriately, who is crossing your boundaries, if you can't assert a boundary with that person because you're so fearful of social consequences or you're fearful of what might happen for doing so because that's your mind has been polluted that much with the social conditioning. How are you going to stand up to a woman that you're dating or in a relationship with? How are you going to be attractive to a woman if you can't tell a woman no? Like, do you realize there's a direct correlation between your ability to tell a woman no and her ability to be attracted to you and find you desirable? Do you realize that there's a correlation between those two things? Why do you think girls, like women, go for these criminal guys, right? And I'm not talking just the dysfunctional you know, mental disordered type women or like fat, gross women that just have no other options. I'm talking about like oftentimes attractive women. Think about anybody who's lived maybe not the most sheltered life, okay? Who's had friends or nah, maybe not friends, but like known people who are like criminal types, right? Or if you've known chicks who are pretty decent looking, maybe works at the local diner, wait, that kind of a chick, right? And then who's she dating? The fucking town criminal, all right? The guy's a dirtbag, the guy who just got out of jail. Why do you think women in mass go for those guys? What do you think that is? Well, maybe it's because the guy who's kind of a dirtbag, who's way lower value than you, isn't afraid to tell a chick to go F off. It's really that simple. A guy who is kind of an a-hole, who maybe has a little bit of criminal tendencies, will tell a girl no. Will tell a girl to F off. Some of those guys will be downright abusive about it, right? And that's it. Dirtbag is fearless. Exactly. He's not afraid of women. Look, a woman needs to feel like she's got to protect her. Somebody, if she's going to be like, if her nether regions are going to get wet for you, okay, as gross as that sounds, the way I said that on the internet, but if that's going to happen, okay, it's because part of the reason, not the only reason, but part of it is because she feels like she can be, you're somebody who could protect her. She's not going to feel like you can protect her if you can't tell her no sometimes or assert a boundary. If you can't assert a boundary with a woman who is physically less strong than you are, how are you going to protect her from an attacker or from someone that's going to put her or your children at risk? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a direct, the mammalian brain directly responds to that in a very, very harsh way. Being a nice guy, being a kind person is good. All right. I recommend, that's part of your positive masculine identity, is to be benevolent, to be kind, but not to be a pussy, right? If you're a pussy, okay, they're not going to be attracted to you. And this guy, well, he's kind of a pussy. You know what I mean? Hey, it is what it is. He could have given, even if, again, your argument is he should have given the ball up. It's fine, whatever. It wasn't worth it. First of all, it was worth it for him. All right. Because in an interview later, he was talking about that, how it was a big deal for him to be able to give that ball to his son. And then it was ruined by her, like all the whole thing. So it definitely was worth it. It wasn't something he didn't care about. You know what I'm saying? Which it wasn't worth the fight. It was worth the fight. Number one. Number two, even if he made the decision to give it up, the body language and everything else when you watch the video is a man who is afraid. All right. If you're afraid of a woman, if you're afraid of a Karen, if you're afraid to tell somebody no, and this is man or woman, right? Like a lot of you guys, here's a sad thing. A lot of you guys would stand up to a guy if a guy were to try to cross some boundaries, but you're afraid to stand up to a woman because that's how far we've come with social conditioning, right? You're afraid of and it may not be being afraid of her beating you up. It's afraid of the social consequences. And you hear that resonating through comments and things. And then, of course, you hear the fantasy land bullshit, simping kind of commentary, like never hit a woman and never this and always, it's like, I'm not saying you guys go off and be abusive and hit women. That's not anything you should do. But first of all, why are we talking about hitting anybody? We're just talking about saying no You know what I mean? To giving up a baseball that doesn't belong to the other person. Like, you're just talking about setting. We're not talking about punching her in the face. Like, why is that where we go with the conversation? Do you know what I mean? And second of all, you do realize there are violent women out there who hurt people. Yes, in much smaller numbers than violent men. I do realize that. But there are some women who will, under the influence of drugs or alcohol, ask any police officer, okay, who's had to deal with it, under the influence of drugs or alcohol, there are plenty of women who will aggress and do violence to others. Who's supposed to stop them if you can't put hands on a woman? Who's supposed to stop them? Other girls, quick, call in the girl cavalry, because you never lay hands on a woman, even if she's beating your child to death, right? Like, don't stop her, can't stop her. That's how that is stupid. You're in a fantasy la la land place, right? I don't know where you're at, but it's fantasy land, okay? And so, but that's what you see. You see this social conditioning, which now leads into the coaching thing. So, all right, long lead in, but you look, it leads into this because it's all of this supplicating behavior to women. All right. So we have, and I'm going to sum up. I will sum up with my short here, the Sadia Khan thing, because we don't need to get too far into it, because I have more important things to talk about rather than gossiping about this chick, right? Whoa, whoa, whoa! That's not what I want. hold on, hold on. What did I just do? Okay, I'm talking to myself. What's going on? Okay, all right, that wasn't what I wanted. Uh, okay. I'm so bad with pressing buttons, man. I need like a. It was cool when I had Glenn here who could just press. Remember that? I had hit Glenn. He pressed all the buttons for me. That was fun. Okay, so we're gonna do this. All right, so this is gonna sum up the Sadia Khan thing. All right. How does a woman with no psychology background who names her channel Sadia Psychology charge $8,000 to teach men how to text a girl back? The reason is body apps. Sadia Khan's popularity can be attributed to the fact that she is a woman with body apps and face editing. So many men are pathetic, dude. They are just looking for a woman to simp for, to give them permission to text a girl. She claims to teach men how to have strong moral principles and build healthy relationships. Like this.
What are you gonna do about it? I'll stop it if you have an attitude, and I can do it today.
That was her talking to the wife of the guy she is banging. Miss Psychology, with millions of followers, promoting healthy relationships, is someone's 304 side chick. Guys, stop simping for unqualified coaches on the internet. If you want to actually change your life and your relationships, get in my school community for free and get real results. How does a Okay, there we go. So that I just summed up Sadia Khan right there in a 1 minute. Now there's more stuff on the internet if you want to look into the story and read about it. But basically, she's somebody who is presenting herself with a lot of qualifications for clout, for credibility, as if she's a licensed therapist psychologist, is basically her presentation, her claim. She is not. And it's okay that she isn't. Here's the thing. That's the crazy part. That's not the problem. Isn't that she isn't a psychologist. I mean, if psychologists knew what to do with relationships, then you would see better results in therapy. You really don't. Certain individuals get good results and certain don't. They don't like to track those numbers because it makes their industry look bad. But the fact of the matter is that marriage counseling and couples therapy and relationship related counseling from psychologists, from counselors, from social workers have done nothing to impact the divorce rates. As marriage counseling goes up, divorce rates go up right along with it. I'm not saying therapy is not valuable for certain things. There's psychologists that I respect who do an excellent job. But when you're looking at the industry as a whole, there's a lot of really shitty people, like shitty psychologists. There's bad psychologists, people with credentials who are bad at their job. It's a very lazy profession, actually, okay, for the average person that's in that profession. So I'm not saying like, oh, she's like, it's not the fact that she's not a psychologist, because there's plenty of not psychologists who do really well work. Now, I mean, I do actually have a psychology background, but there's plenty of people who don't have that who are great coaches. Okay. So that's not the thing. And I'm going to show you at the end of this video how to evaluate a professional. All right. For those of you who are serious about doing well, because the reality is you're not going to do well. All right. All right. You're not going to accidentally find a good woman here in 2025 and then have a great family and great relationship. Sorry, that those times are over with. All right. I did a video over the week that dropped over the weekend about a guy had wrote a letter to his wife who passed away from tuberculosis, and it was a very heartfelt letter. And it sounded like, I mean, who knows? It's one-sided, but it sounded like this guy had a pretty good relationship before she passed away, which made me think of, grandparents and great grandparents, like age level of couples. And sometimes you find those older couples that really had something special. Guess what? That was a different time. All right. The time that those people met, the internet wasn't in existence, and people weren't polluting their brain with poor social conditioning involving relationships. Men behave better as far as how they should behave when it comes to, leading a relationship, just naturally without any special training. A lot of times, did every man? No, but like a lot of men, I'd argue a higher percentage of men behave better, a higher percentage of women, and especially the women, behave better. Okay. Not all of them. Somebody's grandma here was a slut here at some point too, and somebody's grandma, okay, listening, probably cheated on so and so. Like, women are still women, men are still men, but the social conditioning was just better. Okay. The times are different. You didn't have a global sexual marketplace that continually overstimulates your brain in a way that your mammalian brain, your primitive brain has not evolved yet to deal with AI and social media influencers and all that stuff. Okay. And so you're in a place now where, guess what? You're not going to accidentally have good outcomes in relationships. You won't. You won't just be like the dutiful husband or the nice guy or the cool guy, just work on yourself a little bit and, whatever, just be a normal guy and you're going to have a great relationship. I promise you, you fucking won't. You're going to end up divorced. You're going to end up broken up with. You're going to end up cheated on, or you're going to end up in a lukewarm, sad relationship where nobody's doing anything to harm each other, but it's just sad, right? It's like you become roommates, and you just sort of settle in that situation. Very, very small percent. That percentage of people who have peak relationships that do well gets smaller and smaller every single year. And it doesn't mean that you can't have something great. It just means that it's not going to happen by accident anymore. It used to just sort of happen. Men and women just came together and things happened. Well, it doesn't anymore. Okay. That's not what happens anymore. The numbers don't lie. The numbers show that relationships that are long-term are a catastrophic failure in general. Okay. But there are some that are successful, a very much smaller percentage, maybe 10%. Okay. All right. In a different data shows different numbers, but okay. If it's such a small percentage, all right, what's happening there? What elements are there? I know those things. I know what to do. All right. I've been working with people for a long time, couples, men. I've worked with well over 1,000 men at this point. Okay. Been doing this for over half a decade. Okay. I've seen people start and continue long-term relationships that are so successful, like just a weekend in that relationship outmatches most marriages. That's how my own life is too in my relationships. So you can do it, but you need help. Okay. You're not going to do it on your own. You can be a high SMV guy. You can have a ton of value. You can be good looking. It's not happening on accident. Not today. So that means we do need to elevate ourselves. We need to learn better skills in order to have better relations with women. Okay. In terms of just dating and casual, even just social relationships, as well as long-term relationships. If you want to have a successful time with women in your life, okay, as a man, you need some training. I don't care who you are, because there's shit going on that is beyond what is going to be natural for you to fix. All right. Because technology is moving society along a trajectory much faster than your evolution can catch up to it. So we have to fill this gap with learning skill sets. That's what I'm here for. That's where the coaching stuff comes in. But with that, because this is a true thing that I'm saying, you have people who are fraudulent or fake coaches. Sadia Khan is probably a bit more extreme, but why would guys go to her? So let's go to that point now, that talking point. This is a point I'm going to make, all right, for a while. It's simping, dude. Guys can't stop simping. Like, guys are addicted to simping. So here's the thing about simping, all right? So I hope you guys brought your fucking notepads for today, okay? Here's the thing about simping. It's in our evolutionary wiring to take and protect a woman that we have a relationship with, okay? A sexual romantic relationship, a woman that we've bonded to. It's natural for us to want to take care of her needs and protect her. All right. It's something, and we know this because neurologically we have vasopressin. I've talked about this. Nobody talks about this, or I'd say nobody. It's talked about in the scientific circles, and it doesn't make it into the relationship dating coaching circles, right? There's even books that famous, psychologists have written, one of them by a woman, which is not a bad book, but she focused all on beta endorphin, which I would say is the comfort neurochemical, not the entire thing, and so she's missing so much stuff. So even in the scientific community, there's a lot missing for how we bond with the opposite sex and have romantic sexual relationships. All right. The data is out there, but people just don't make the connections because they don't know how to have healthy relationships themselves. And, it's very limited as to the results they're getting. And so that translates into how they perceive the data. That's just what happens. And so they're basically experiencing life at a lower level. So then that, maybe mid-level, and then that affects the way they see the data from the research. And that's what happens. But at any rate, so we bond with vasopressin. Women do not. Okay. Women bond sexually, emotionally with oxytocin and the beta endorphin, along with all of the other neurochemicals involved in the reward system. So you got your reward system involving like dopamine, serotonin, some good stress, some bad stress, your cortisol, norepinephrine, all that stuff, right? And I know enough, whatever, to talk about it loosely like this, all right? A neuroscientist can talk about it in greater detail, but you have your reward system that's in play. Okay. So your reward system, gives you a sense of reward or gives you a sense of pain or punishment for doing or not doing things, right? That's in play when you bond in sexual relationships. But what you're adding to it is additional bonding neurochemicals that allow you to maintain a relationship, that give you the motivation to maintain a relationship. Some of those are oxytocin, vasopressin, beta endorphin. Beta endorphin is a comfortable neurochemical that's comfortable, like it's comfort. Okay. Over time, you feel comfortable with this person, right? And then you feel a sense of pain or missing them when they're not there. That's beta endorphin. All right. Very sustainable. Beta endorphin sustainable. Oxytocin is not sustainable on its own. So you have to reignite oxytocin all the time. This is why, guys, you can't get lazy in relationships. You have to, do different things. You have to always court the girl that you're with. If you're in a long-term relationship, you have to court her. You have to take her on dates. You have to seduce her. You have to do different things, try different things. It's not really hard. You know what I mean? Guys like, oh, it's so hard. You know, it's like a bunch of fucking Napoleon Dynamites out there. You remember that movie? Just, I'm fucking, I'm lazy. Gosh, I don't know what to do. Like, that's all you guys. All right. Well, not all of you. All right. The large percentage of you guys. Okay. And you guys need to fucking cut it out. Right. Like, because if you're out experiencing life, having good experiences, and you're with somebody, guess who gets to come along for the ride? That chick. And then you're going to be reigniting that oxytocin all the time for her. So it's not a hard thing to do. You just have to be sexually active, sexually, we'll say, adventurous in a way, like where you actually enjoy sex and you want to continue that with the girl you're with. And then you're doing different things. It's really not that hard, but guys make it harder than it is. Right. So that's the oxytocin. And that's where the girl pretty much ends in her bonding. It's her bonding is beta endorphin, oxytocin, and then reward system neurochemicals. You have this additional thing though, as a man, it's called vasopressin. All right. So vasopressin means that you want to caretake for this chick. Well, that's what will cause you to want to protect her. That's what causes you to be a little possessive. That's what causes you to want to make sure that she's emotionally good. Right. Now, vasopressin is what gets guys in trouble all the time. Vasopressin is what will keep you in a relationship with a woman who treats you like crap, for example. You know what I mean? A lot of times you're trying to, the vasopressin is what causes you to get absolutely murdered in a divorce because she doesn't have vasopressin. She's not trying to caretake for you. And she doesn't even have the bonding neurochemicals there anymore because oxytocin is short-lived. And, you know, the beta endorphin part, she just doesn't miss you that much. And she's being self-protective. And in a divorce proceeding, she's wanting to take all of your stuff, right? Whereas you are still protecting her. You see this all the time in divorces and ask any divorce attorney. It's like the guy is trying to be fair and to protect the woman, and she is just taking him for what she can take him for. All the time that happens, right? So this vasopressin thing is a good thing because it helps you be the man that makes you a good husband, but it's not good in a sense that it makes you, if you out of control, and if you don't have emotional self-control, right? If your inner game is not good and you're driven by your emotions, vasopressin is going to cause you to make a lot of mistakes with women. So now let's come back to simping, right? So now that we understand, oh, there's this vasopressin thing, what happens if a guy doesn't have healthy relationships and that his sexual outlet is jerking off and looking at porn and that's the, you know, and getting access to girls online or whatever it may be? What do you think that guys, and of course, for most of you guys who are a bit younger than me, right? Because I'm 47, so I'm a Gen Xer. So you other generations that are younger, you grew up with porn. Most of you dudes probably started watching porn 9, 10, 11 years old because parents weren't watching what you were doing on the internet and you were getting access to that stuff. And it's like right around the time that you start getting a little bit of hormones and deciding to, you know, want to explore your junk down there. So you're porn braining yourself since children. Many of you younger guys, younger than me, right? That's what you've been doing. And if you didn't do it as a child and affect your growing brain, many of you just do it as adults because it's an easy reward, right? So what do you think happens when that's the outlet and guys don't have healthy relationships with women? Well, where does that vasopressin go? There's a need to stimulate that part of your bonding system. And if you don't have a good thing for it, it goes into bad places. One of those bad places is simping. Okay. Simping is a way for a guy to stimulate that vasopressin without in an unhealthy way because he doesn't have a healthier outlet. So now this is where you get into paying for girls on OnlyFans, paying for girls, begging girls, for attention, begging to be able to send girls money. You know what I mean? Overly complimenting women and then getting angry, then flipping it and getting angry and upset when they don't seem to appreciate the compliments. Following girls on social media that you don't know, liking and constantly hearting their shit, so on and so forth, right? That's, I mean, all the simping. And that simping has taken over the culture. The reason that women act like baseball Karen is because most men are simps. Most of guys out there, and many of you watching this right now, a lot of you guys though who are still watching though are not like this, okay? But because you would have logged off already, all right? But many of the guys, a lot of guys who come across this video are going to log right off. Why? Because they're pussies. All right. We have an epidemic of pussy ass men in our fucking society right now. That simp for women constantly. Right. And that's how you end up with baseball Karen and all of those types all over. That's how you end up with the mean girl. That's how you end up with the fat girl that tells you her friend isn't interested. That's how you end up with these women who do criminal things and get away with it right out in the open in public. Not just annoying things, but criminal things, right? That's how you end up with crazy unchecked female behavior. Listen, crazy unchecked behavior, male or female, isn't good. But guys get checked for their behavior. Guys get the police called on them. Guys get hauled off to jail. Guys get beat up by sometimes get beat up, right, by bystanders. Women, unchecked. You know what I mean? But more and more men, though, because we're so weak in simping, aren't even checking other men. So we don't even have that anymore. So this is how we end up with, like, for example, the Ukrainian woman who got stabbed on the subway. Nobody came to help her till it was way, way too late. Now, I'm not saying a guy should have thrown himself in front of that knife blade, but there's an increasing number of incidences now where you have violent men aggressing on women and nobody's stopping it. See, because that's the other consequence of weak simping men is they don't stand up for anybody. You see what I mean? That weakness ends up being prevalent across all their behavior. So all these women that, you know, pushed for feminism and this brand of feminism and pushed for suppressing masculinity and suppress all down to like the psychology industry, suppressing masculine, positive masculine identity, suppressing masculine behavior, right? Demonizing masculinity as being a bad thing. Well, now that they're not liking the consequences, because the consequences are simping unattractive men, that creepy type men, right? That women aren't interested in because they just are creeping, right? And doing creepy, weird shit behavior. They basically try to simp, and then when they're not rewarded for that, then they get angry and violent because they don't have emotional self-control, because that's a condition, by the way, of not being masculine and being weak is no emotional self-control. So when the guy doesn't get his simping reciprocated, what does he do? He acts abusive, threatening, so on and so forth, right? There's a lot of talk over in Europe and different places about the migrant crisis and these guys just acting pretty horrible to women. A lot of that's not dominant behavior, it's weak behavior. You know what I mean? And people aren't protecting anything because there are now the vast majority of guys have been conditioned to be weak. Okay? And so this is what happens at simping. Okay, now back to coaching and frauds. Why? Why? Right? This is funny though. Feminists demean masculinity until I need a plumber. Exactly. Exactly. So back to fraudulent coaches, though. Well, all the simping behavior, you guys are suffering. Guys are suffering. They're not doing well. They're struggling. What ends up happening? They go to the internet to seek help. When they go to seek help, what do they run into? You guys know because you're here. So you've been on the internet seeing what's out there. What you run into is women giving advice on dating and relationships to men. Notice how their fucking clientele isn't women. There are some whose clientele are women. And I'm not saying, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon of all female coaches are bad. I'm not doing that because some might be okay. Right. There's some that might be worthwhile, but you know, the popular ones, like the one I mentioned, they're frauds, but their clientele's men. Why is their clientele men? Because guys are just simping for them. Guys want a woman who they find attractive enough to tell them what to do. And so a guy wants help in dating, and instead of a guy's addicted to porn and he wants help with dating, he wants to see, he gets frustrated. I need to have a real relationship. What does he do? He goes to the fucking internet to find a girl that he gets a boner for and then simps for her instead. Do you see the fucking hello? You know what I mean? Do you see the problem? You're not going to get better if you're doing that. It doesn't matter what that chick tells you. Okay. She could actually have good advice. It won't matter. You're not going to do well. If your reason and motivation for being there and you guys lie to yourselves, men are so good at telling themselves a story to justify what they do rather than just fixing a problem. Like when guys don't fix a problem and their egos get involved, when your ego gets involved, right? Little fragile egos get involved. They make up a story and then they justify what they do. So thousands of guys simping for Sadia Khan, paying her pretty good amount of money. And I don't care that she charges amount of money. If she charged $8,000 for a program and then she got results for guys, good, right? Like that's fine. I mean, that's actually a small price to pay to save your relationship and dating life for the rest of your life. I mean, really, when you think about it, that's a drop in the bucket. So it's not even the money that bothers me. It's the fact that she didn't deliver. And there's all kinds of cases about that. Now, that's not what's going to get publicized though. Right? It's a lack of delivery. It's a lack of substance. And I'll show you why. I'll show you where that is. All right. But that's what you run into. And she's not the only one. All right. Now, here's the thing. I don't make it part of my brand to just shit talk other people. So, I mean, you're not going to hear me talk about her much after this. All right. And the reason why is because there's a slippery slope there. Guys who become the crusaders on the internet for what's right and truthful, what happens is they run out of people to expose, and then everything becomes that. Like they see everything through that lens. They're chasing after, everybody is a fraud now. You know what I mean? Like it fits their brand becomes this monster where nothing is good out there and they're trying to expose everybody and slam on everybody. And it just turns into a shit show. You see that in the veteran space. You see that in some different spaces. And then it's just dumb. You know what I mean? So I don't want to take what I have to offer in terms of my services. And again, jump on the school community. And you can see you got my YouTube channel here to get a taste of those things. What I have to offer is actual real solutions and skill sets for you to train, learn, and do. And I don't need to slam on people to promote that. You know what I'm saying? But you do. So it's not about pointing out individuals. Other people can do that. I'll leave that up to them. The other thing is too, reality is that these people who are frauds make millions of dollars being frauds. And a part of their cost of doing business is suing people. So that's another part of this industry that I'm exposing, is that the frauds have a budget to that they build for costs of attorneys to go out and sue people. They sue people for bad testimonials and send out cease and desist letters, and they have to take those bad reports or testimonials down. They sue people for exposing them, even if it's truthful, because you have to understand the person who exposes these frauds might be being truthful. Like it might not hold up in a lawsuit for slander or libel or whatever, right? I'm not an attorney, so excuse me, but it might not hold up, right? In court, but it doesn't matter because they're going to cost that person who's exposing them a bunch of money in legal fees. And so truthful people who are out there doing good work don't want to spend money. Like for me, for example, I need my efforts to go into helping more people out to become better versions of themselves, because so helping men become better men, helping people have better relationships, right? Getting you guys better results in the dating market and in general, all right, with your your masculine identity and helping you build that up. Like, my focus needs to be on you guys. I can't sit here and focus on dealing with lawsuits because somebody wants to drag me through court with a bunch of lawsuits, even if they're fraudulent. You see what I mean? If you still have to fight it, and then you end up having to pay for attorneys and go fight through this process. So this is why, unless the brand is built on exposing people, you don't see negative testimonials. You realize these people who are frauds sue people for putting out negative testimonials. They sue people for putting that stuff out. They have a budget for that. They consider that the cost of doing business, right? And so that's another thing. I don't feel like having to deflect lawsuit after lawsuit because I'm name dropping. You know, now something like Sadia Khan, this is all over and this is exposed. I'm a small potatoes. I'm not worried about being sued here. But she is suing. She's suing other channels who have exposed her. I'm not the person who exposed her. I'm just pointing you to what they say. So I'm far down the list. I'm not too worried about it. When something is viral like this, I can actually talk about it and drop a name without too much concern. But there are closets, there are skeletons in closets from all of these content creators and all these fucking coaches, and they're full of shit. And people that you know and respect and like because of their internet persona, they're full of shit. A lot of them. Okay. You'd be fucking surprised to find out. But if I expose them, part of their budget is to bring out lawsuits and all that. So it builds my brand in a bad way. And then it's all that. So what I'm going to do instead, though, is I'm going to give you some things to look for as far as when you're looking at fraudulent coaches, and then also what to look for in a good coach. Because again, you're not going to fix any of these problems on your own, probably. I sure didn't. I had to go. It took me decades to figure this stuff out and going through multiple sources. Now, I've distilled that so to easily digestible programs and systems so you can get that stuff without having to go through decades of blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? But I didn't wake up one morning and all of a sudden know this shit either. I had to put a ton of effort into figuring it out. You have to put some effort, not as much as I did, because the resources weren't available when I was figuring it out. But you know, now that we have good resources, okay, that's the positive aspect of technology and coming together with the internet. Good information, good resources through, you know, my programs. You can cut short decades of pain and suffering, and really in a few months have a really good handle of this stuff, right? But yeah, you need to know what to look for. So let's go over some of that stuff. All right. So first, what are some things to look for? So a lot of unsubstantiated claims. That's something that you'll run into. Fake testimonials, fake success stories. That's a big one. I need to do more testimonials that are real testimonials. So here's the thing that you run into. It's like guys that are wanting help need some sort of proof that the person that they're looking at on the internet talking, right? Or the person that person is capable of helping them, right? You want to know, well, if you come onto my channel, am I capable of helping you? For example, right? Whether it's Sadia Khan, whether it's any of these other people that are out there. And so guys are looking for signs of that. Now, unfortunately, the biggest thing to shortcut your brain into thinking somebody has credibility is internet clout. Okay, so number one thing there, internet clout. It shortcuts your brain. All right. You think because someone has, this is why people buy subscribers. By the way, a lot of people have bought subscribers because when you look at a subscriber count, that's, you know, a couple 100,000, even if 75% of those were bought. Okay. And those are bots and services that they have to maintain and pay fees to keep these subscriber counts. That gives you a sense of, well, this person must be credible. You know what I mean? When someone has a popular audience, you think that they're credible. Well, here's the thing. Having having status on the internet because of a lot of views and likes does mean that you're credible at marketing yourself on the internet. That's what that means. It means that you're what are you credible? What are you good at? You're good at internet marketing. All right. You're good at being an influencer. If you have 500,000 followers on your YouTube channel, that means you're good at, or you've gotten somewhat lucky. Usually it's a mixture of luck and being good, right? It's actually both. But you've managed to build this brand, and you're lucky that you can deliver these messages on YouTube and an audience of people likes it. You're good at that. You're good at being a YouTuber, for example, if you're a YouTuber, or you're good at, if your Instagram is huge, you're good at being that guy, right? That doesn't mean you're good at helping another person get the results that they want. Those two things are different things. And so the biggest way your brain shortcuts is that you take internet clout as a point of credibility. So I'll give you an example. Somebody has a popular podcast, and on the podcast, they bring girls on, and then they argue with the girls. The girls have titties, so guys click on it. Guys subscribe because titties, right? All right, whatever. And then drama ensues. People love drama, so they click on it. People love to be entertained, so they click on it. So you now have somebody who's entertaining with titties on the screen and drama, right? That's fucking all right. Sweet. That is a recipe for lots of clicks. And then that person says, now let me help you with your game. Now, I'm not saying that person can't help you with your game. Let me just be clear. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. But the reason why someone buys that course is because clicks on the internet. So think about how stupid that is for a minute. You think because this person has a popular show where there's drama, titties, and entertainment, that now this person's course on making you a better man, or getting over a breakup, or getting girls, or living your lifestyle a certain way, you think that course is going to help you. It's not necessarily going to help you. You see what I mean? There's not a correlation between the two things. But people will spend tons of money on the thing because the internet clout is giving that person authority that they really don't have. They've bought authority with internet clout. So that's the thing. First of all, what you have to do is you have to, and I'm saying this as somebody who I would love more internet clout. I'm not going to lie. Like, of course, I would love to have my channel be more popular. I have a book in process and some things that hopefully will make me go mainstream. That would be great. But I want you to evaluate me and other coaching programs, not based on the fact that I have clicks or likes or views. You see what I'm saying? You have to listen. Stupid people suffer. That's just the way it is. And if you're going to be fucking stupid, and if you're going to be a pussy, those two things, you're going to suffer. And that's it. That's the way of the world. So you want to suffer and keep suffering, be a pussy or be stupid, or both. And that happens. All right. So most people are at a lower level of thinking where they correlate clicks with authority. What I'm asking you to do is to go beyond that. That doesn't mean, by the way, that clicks means that they don't have good products either. They could. I'm sure if I had more clicks, I would still have good products. All right. Like I would stand by my products. Everybody who's in my programs would, but me having 1 million followers would make that awesome. That would be awesome for my brand. Right. So great. But it doesn't, the fact that I have 1 million followers, if I have that, doesn't make my programs better or worse. You see what I'm saying? You have to evaluate the program based on what it can do for you, based on, and that person's authority, based on what results you think you'll get from the program, not based on whether or not they're popular on the internet. So that's the thing. Okay. So that's the first thing. If you can do that, right, you're already thinking you're not going to get scammed, right? Well, you still might get scammed. I'll go for that. But you're less likely to get scammed if you can remove this clout chasing stuff, because it's a form of simping, guys. If you can remove simping for women, oh, she's pretty, tell me what to do. That's the first reason why these guys aren't getting girls, right? Because they need a girl to tell them what to do. So if they can just not do that, not simp for women on the internet because who claim to be coaches, and not simp for men because they got clout, and so what does that involve then? Well, cool fucking photos, me at a party, me at a boat, me driving a supercar, doing all that stuff. The Tates really, capitalize on internet clout. And I'm not faulting them for doing it. They know how to get clicks. They know how to get likes. They know how to get views. They're great internet marketers. They're way better than I am. Okay. When it comes to internet marketing. But does Andrew Tate driving a bunch of supercars translate to him helping you directly with your problem? It might and it might not, but you have to divorce those two things from each other. You understand what I'm saying? You have to evaluate what the person's credibility is and how they can help you, aside from what cool things they're doing on the internet that gives them status or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So the presentation, the persona, the cool photos, all stuff that we all have to do. I have to do some of that. I have to do some cool things, right? Or whatever that gets people's eyeballs on my brand. Like, it's all stuff we have to do. But I'm telling you, listen, I'm giving you all the secrets. I'm telling you what is behind the curtain so that you can make good decisions for yourself. Most people in my position will not do that. They want to fucking scam you. You see what I mean? And so you have to divorce that from your brain. Okay. Don't simp for men. Don't simp for women. So we've already established that. I'll be going over the comments here shortly too. So if you got something cool to say, drop it in there. So now we got testimonials. So testimonials are usually scams but there's real ones too. I know I need to collect testimonials and stuff. I do some of that. Every business should do that. Okay. But the reality is some of these guys will take it to a point of paying actors, paying for testimonials, fabricating screenshots of dating app conversation, fabricating the receipts, right? So fabricating the receipts, how are you going to know the difference if some PUA guy is fabricating his receipts or not? You will not know that. And this is the other thing. Most of these guys in the relationship space and the manosphere and all that crap have shitty relationships, dude. They have shitty relationships with women. They don't do well in dating and they're lying to you. It's the reality of it. All right. To include some of your PUA guys. Now there's guys out there that are real deals. No, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of guys who are not. And you're not going to know the difference is the point. So testimonials are nice, but you always take those with a grain of salt. I mean, if you get a testimonial, like right after someone does a program while they're on a buyer's high, you know what I mean? That doesn't necessarily equate to how well they're doing a year later. And I'm not saying that the person who got the testimonial is doing something unethical by getting a testimonial after they bought the program. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you need to use your bigger brain to understand, right? Like, okay, these people say good things, but maybe some of those things are from a buyer's high. And so start looking for substance in those testimonials. What are they saying about it? Not just, are they saying, oh, it's great, it's awesome, Paul's the best, do his stuff, or which is fine. Hey, my guys who work with me, I appreciate it if you tell people that. That's great. But what I want you as somebody who's the buyer, right? Look past that. What problems got solved? Do they have a story to tell? You know what I mean? Look for more substance in those testimonials. That's going to tell you a little bit more, hopefully, if they're fake or not. Now, obviously, if somebody outright just fabricates it and makes it up, well, you know what I mean? You're not going to, they could tell a really good story and it could be fake, but at least Hopefully that's not the case. You know what I mean? And if you get into something like my community, when you get into my community, there's 730 people there, and we do an open call, and a lot of, fair amount of people show up and they have good questions. And all those questions are smart. You have a lot of you have a lot of pretty good questions and thinkers in my community that'll tell you that guys are getting results, right? Versus low level, shitty, fucking incel type behaviors that you'll get in some of these communities. You know what I mean? So you want to look for that stuff. Look for substance, not just testimonials. All right, not just accolades. So there's a couple things. Don't simp for men or women. Don't let internet clout shade your view of evaluating somebody and whether or not they got good programs. And don't let low substance testimonials necessarily sway your view, even though some of those might be genuine. Look for some more things with substance, right? Look for things. All right. So the next one is a lot of people just misrepresent themselves online. Like they outright, like Sadia Psychology, and she's claims to be a psychologist. She's not a psychologist. That happens all the time. Do you know what I mean? It happens in the self-help space as well. You got guys who make these outlandish claims, you know what I mean? And they got nothing behind it. Guys like Joe Dispenza, for example. I'm sorry, that guy's a fake. I know some of you guys like him. All right. But a lot of the things, him curing cancer with meditation, he's just full of shit. Okay. And he sells out auditoriums, making empty promises to people. And his credentials are fabricated. All right. So that's what you run into. Yeah, I name dropped him, but whatever. And that's a big name. But dude, it's all over. So you look for that misrepresentation and outlandish claims. Okay. If it's too good to be true, it's probably fucking bullshit. All right. Moving along. So back to suing form. You don't get a lot of negative feedback from these people because there's something called slap lawsuits. They'll sue former students and people with negative reviews. All right. So you'll notice negative reviews are removed, and oftentimes people are gone after legally for exposing other people. Okay. And so that's something to keep in mind. Exploiting your vulnerabilities. That's a big one too. So there's a lot of these guys will get you to buy stuff from them by shaming you into programs. That's a big thing. Shaming tactics, right? Now, I try to draw a line on that. Like if you're a weak guy who is a functioning incel, but won't admit it to yourself, who won't make a decision to help yourself, I'm going to call you out on that. Not because I'm just trying to market you, but because you need somebody to do it. Sometimes we as men are dumb because we lie to ourselves because of our egos and we want to protect our self-esteem or whatever. All of us do it. All of us are susceptible of being guilty. And sometimes you need someone to say, hey, dude, you're being a fucking idiot right now. You need that. You need a little bit of that sometimes, right? But there's a difference between doing that and just shaming a guy into programs. There's programs out there that are like these boot camp programs where they hire ex-military dudes or whatever to act like drill sergeants, and they just yell at dudes and call them weak, call them this. It's a whole break you down to build you up thing that, they're attempting to do like it's basic training or whatever, and guys will spend $20,000 to go away to some entrepreneurial weekend where you got a bunch of guys talking about how successful they are. It's called success. I call it success porn, success porn. It's just like, yeah, you can have everything you want. You just got to be more of a man. And the reason why you don't have everything you want is because you're not a man enough. And then they just do boot camp stuff and then shame you and all that crap and break you down, get in your face, act disrespectful. All stuff that is bullshit is not the way we actually do it in the military, not the way we do it during selection process, or even not the way drill sergeants are trained. It's a fucking cartoon of that stuff, and it's unethical, a lot of it. And guys pay tons of money for that shame. They just to get shamed, because then the whole end state is, oh, you made it through this and now, you're a better man for it. So now, it makes you, it's like what cults do. It's they are abusive towards you so that you lean on them for your to have a stronger identity. All right. So this is how some of these programs do cult-like behavior. And so you'll see that too. All right. And there's been criminal issues because of that. People have been arrested for running cohesive groups. People have been PUA guys arrested for sexual assault and harassment. All right. During their live training, because they're just trying to aggressively pick up on drunk girls at the end of the night at bars and stuff like that. So these are all the types of scams. All right. And so it's all out there. Now I'm going to share with you something to look for. So here's the big thing, and here's the closing. Let me look at some. Well, no, I'll just share this first. Am I sharing? Oh, hold on. So let me share this. Okay, I want to share the slide from one of my presentations. Okay. This is what you want to look for in any program that's going to help you, whether it's men's help, whether it's business help, whether it's, getting better in relationships, dating, whether it's my community obviously does this, right? This is the formula. MAP is just male action plan. Okay. It came from the Red Pill guys. So here's what most coaches and influencers that don't have much to offer have. They end on step 2. So notice you got 7 steps here. The first one is pain and motivation. The second one is information. So what happens is you have pain usually. Your girlfriend broke up with you, or you've been sexless for a while, or you're just not doing well and you want to improve yourself, right? So you go to prove yourself. What do? You do what everybody does, is you go to YouTube and you start searching around to find people to help give you what? More information. You got Chat GPT, you got, Grok X, you got AI systems to do what? Give you information. So that's the information collection stage. And it's an important stage. I offer YouTube videos for free. I give away information. When you come to my stuff, now there may be an extension of that information. It may be in greater, better detail. I may be tailored to you. I may talk to you directly in a coaching program so we can directly look at how to use this information to help you. So the information is a higher level when you do a paid program with me, but I'm not selling information in a program by itself, because I give away information for free on the internet. Right now, I'm giving you this information. It's free. All you had to do is show up to it, right? And so information is anymore in 2025 isn't something you really need to pay for. In fact, the issue you have is too much information. You have a problem that you only need 10% of the information that's out there to solve that problem. The other 90% of it either is wrong outright. It's not even good information. It's just fucking wrong, or it doesn't apply to you. And if you try to apply it to your situation, you're going to fail. So the problem you have is too much information. Okay. But here's the thing. In the internet age, your brain isn't conditioned to handle, scrolling and going from video to video. Your brain doesn't handle that in a way that's necessarily to your advantage. Your brain is getting a reward each video you click on, each piece of information you pull out. Some of that information is going to be good. A lot of that information is going to be terrible. There's more bad information on the internet right now about how you should act as a man in dating and relationships. There's more bad shit out there than there is good. That's the reality of it. I don't care where you're at. I don't care if you're in the manosphere, if you're in the psychology space, if you're in the red pill space. I don't care where you're at. There's more bad information than good information in all those places on the internet. So that's your first problem, is you're going to digest a bunch of information that doesn't suit you. What you're going to do is you're going to solve this pain. Like, you're going to stimulate your dopamine areas of your brain to make you think that you're solving a problem by collecting information when half of that information is wrong. Okay. So that's first part of the problem, is that a lot of info, a lot of the shit's wrong, but it might sound good because a good influencer can make bad information sound good. He'll make he or she will make something sound good because there'll be grains of truth in it, but then there's a bunch of bad information in it. You see how that works? And so you think you're solving your problem by binge watching and digesting information, where with half of that information being wrong, and then that's where the buck stops. Okay, your life doesn't change, nothing different happens. You're supposed to go out and do stuff, but you're not really doing it, and nothing happens. You have no accountability, so you might do stuff for a little while, or you might do a couple of things, but then you stop doing the things and you slide right back into other behaviors or old behaviors, or you start adopting bad habits and bad behaviors and poor ways of thinking and a poor, ineffective inner game, and you start getting just more bad results. And that's what normally happens. Okay. That's why so many of you guys are stuck. Most of you guys who are watching me right now, you guys who are stuck, especially, things. The problem is that you can blurt out little red pill sayings and manosphere sayings and mainstream dating market sayings. You can say all of the things, all of the little sayings, right? You can say them. You think you know shit, but then when's the last time you got laid? When's the last time that you had a woman in your life that you're proud of? When's the last time that you had, real strong sense of a positive masculine identity? Maybe you've never had that. You see what I'm saying? And so knowing stuff doesn't fucking mean anything. All right. You got to do more than that. Now, most coaching programs, especially the ones done by influencers that are frauds, are selling you more information behind the paywall. That's it. You get behind the paywall and then they go, cool, here's a repurposed shit from my YouTube and from other things. It's just giving you more info. And then that's where the buck stops, because that's the easiest thing to scale. They can charge you tons of money to just provide pre-recorded information and then do that for thousands of people. You see what I'm saying? And maybe the information's good, maybe it's not good, but the point is that's just step 2. That's not that. You got to do more than that. And a coaching program should provide you stuff for each of these other steps. It shouldn't end at step 2, but that's how you know it's a bad program. All right. Some of these programs are just regurgitations of already public videos on their platforms, and then like a Telegram chat or something. Nothing wrong with having a Telegram chat, by the way. It's a good way to communicate, but that's all they're offering. They don't offer anything else. And that's problematic. Okay. That's how you know the program sucks. That's how you know you're getting scammed. All right. If you're paying thousands of dollars for this just information that's identical to what you just get on a YouTube channel somewhere, and there's nothing else there, I'm sorry, it's not, then you got sold. So you got to do steps 3 through 7. Step number 3 is you got to come up with a plan. So a good coach or coaching program is going to help you develop a plan. This exact formula is in a slideshow from a talk that I do behind a paywall. Or if you are on my community, you might get access to a free talk on this, where I help guys and I give guys the tools to develop step 3, to develop a plan. Some guys develop their plan directly with me in a one-on-one consult. It depends on their level of the program they're in, but I'm providing, whether it's through published information behind a paywall or whatever, not just information on how things are, or what some tips and tricks, right? But how do you develop your own plan to solve the problem that you need to solve? What are some foundational things that you need? How do you set a goal? And then how do you work backwards from that goal with all of the steps and sub steps to achieve it? And so that's where we start there. A good coach will be able to help you with that. A good coaching program will then help you with the skill development. So I'm not just here to tell you whatever. Like, I help guys develop skills in persuasion, right? Persuasion psychology, skills in developing their inner game, like things like positive masculine identity, emotional self-control. There are exercises and tools and things you do to develop those skills. All right. Hypnosis, meditation, visualization, certain writing exercises, certain physical exercises. There's all kinds of stuff that's designed to help you develop skills. Role playing, if you're talking about talking to girls, whether it's handling an argument with your wife or whether it's getting a new girl, because you're a single guy picking up on girls. How do you persuade a girl? How do you talk to a girl in a way that she finds you attractive? That's a whole skill that we develop. Okay. You practice. All right. You actually do stuff to develop those skills. I help you do that. A good coach has something to offer that's a skill and will help you develop that skill so you can get what you want. You're not going to get what you want without bettering the skills that you have. You know what I mean? If you're not getting what you want right now, there's something missing. Just like I have to develop better skills in internet marketing, for example, for my business, right? Those are skill sets. You have to develop skills in your relationships and in handling women and in your inner game and handling your social circles, all those things. Step 5 is then action. You have to actually take action. You're probably not going to take action consistently enough to get anywhere without the secret weapon down here. That's accountability. So a good coaching program and a good community is going to encourage you to take action and encourage you to make yourself accountable to yourself and to others and to them. Like, make yourself accountable to the coach. Got it? Overcoming obstacles. You don't know what problems you really have until you start taking the action. You don't know where you're lacking skills necessarily until you start learning about that because of the action you're taking. So 4, 5, and 6 is kind of in a loop. All right. Let's say you have no dates and you just got divorced. You've been out of the dating market for a long time and you want to start dating women. You've gone in a couple of dates off of, like, let's say Hinge, and they were women that didn't look like their profile pictures and they went horrible, right? The women were just insufferable and it just went terribly, right? So you want to seek help on how to do better at dating. Well, there's going to be skill development when it comes to building your social circles, getting yourself out there, meeting higher quality women. There's going to be skill development in dealing with those women. Your skills are probably not just lacking, but corrupted from a bad marriage. You see what I mean? So you got to unlearn some bad habits and learn some new ones. But as you develop some initial skills, you're going to take action. You're going to try to get dates. When you go to do that, you're going to run into obstacles. Then those obstacles are going to tell you where your weak spots are. And then you're going to take those things and you're going to go, oh, okay, now I'm going to go back and sort of plan to overcome those obstacles and then develop some skills to overcome those obstacles. Then I'm going to take action again. And then when you do that a couple times, you're going to run into more obstacles. Guess what? Obstacles don't go away. They just get more and more complex usually until for a little while. So you overcome one obstacle, you just expose one or two more you need to overcome. And that's okay. You just sort of keep doing this, steps 4 through 6, and like in a loop until finally you're dating, you have high quality dates with the women you like, and dating isn't a problem for you. You could get dropped off anywhere in the world. And if there's beautiful women in the area, that are single and enough to go on dates, you'll go on a date with them. Like, you establish a new level after doing this over and over again, right? And then once you establish that level, you want to be in a group of guys who've also established that level, who can keep you at that level. You see what I'm saying? That's what the community is about. That's what having a good coach is for, right? Because once you can achieve a new level somewhere and then slide right back into old patterns because you're not upkeeping that, because it hasn't been enough of a habit for you to be at this new level for long enough. Your identity still, your inner game still could be stuck at a lower level, and even though you've achieved because of your action, you're taking a higher level, and then what'll end up happening is you'll slide back. So you want to establish that new level through building good habits. A good coach is going to take you through all 7 of these steps, whether they have this laid out for themselves or not, whether they realize it or not. There's lots of guys who there's people who out there who are good, who might not have this laid out, but they are doing this, in fact. All right. But if they're not doing this, it's not worth your money. That's the reality. If you're not covering these 7 steps, if you don't have somebody that is doing that with you in some way, shape, or form or fashion, right? Then you're not getting what you should be getting out of that program. It's not worth your fucking money. Okay. And so that's what you look for in a program. You look for something that's going to help you with all 7 of those steps in some way, shape, or form. And there's different ways, right? Guys who are my elite members who are paying a higher dollar amount get more of my attention, more one-on-one sessions to really develop those steps. Guys on a lower tier, they get those steps. It's just not quite as personal. You know what I'm saying? And so any good program that's worth a grain of salt, is worth a penny that you're putting into it, okay, is going to give you those things. That is how you stop yourself evaluating what you're doing, what you're going to get out of it. That's how you're going to stop yourself from simping for internet clout, simping for women. You know what I mean? Buying into programs that are worthless because somebody has a bunch of views. That's the thing you want to get away from. All right. You want to get away from that bullshit. You want to start getting some real stuff. Okay. This is a good point. So going through the comments now with Sadia Khan, a lot of people fell for her British accent. It's called code switching, guys. Yep. This is very valuable comment. Thank you. I know this. I just didn't mention it. I'm from the UK and there's a lot of girls like her here. Bougie in public, ghetto behind doors. Dude, that's so true. Having an accent, this is part of branding. You know what I mean? This is something that I struggle with because I'm very genuine in how I present myself. So I don't know how to present myself like an avatar or like a cartoon. You see what I mean? But she's very good at and I say that being good at branding is like how to match your voice, the visuals, the marketing with a level of authority. And her accent definitely contributed to that. You know, she's got this nice British accent that sounds like she knows what she's talking about. And so that makes people fall into that whole persona. It becomes all part of it. In my short, I talked about body apps. Well, yeah, she does. Why would a woman who's a psychologist, which she's not, but that's what she's presenting herself as, an expert in these things, care to use body apps like to that degree, to a high degree? I mean, it's one thing to clean up a photo, right? But it's another thing to have an app or a system that where you put a live video on and it shrinks your waist and makes your butt look. I mean, on a live video, dude, that's a lot. That's a lot to take that. I don't know, those steps. Why would somebody do that who's supposed to be, we're supposed to rely on her for her expertise and her brain, not what her ass looks like. Well, it goes back to branding. You know, guys want to simp for a girl that they think is pretty. So they're spending $8,000 on a program from her that is low value, that doesn't deliver, just because they think she's good looking. That's the reason. Do you know what I mean? And then add the British accent to it. Yeah, 100%, you know? Fearless equals alpha. That is correct. Good. I'm glad you caught the short. I'm trying to get myself out of this shadow ban hell that I'm in. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I try different things and I burn out. Maybe I won't burn out this time. Let's read what this one is. I've never heard of her before today. Well, that's probably good. And she's not the only one doing this. That is correct. That is correct. There's many more and also men. Yep, dude, you are correct. Especially all these fake alpha personality. Yeah, dude. Yep. And the looks max. It's all a scam. Correct. Yep. Zero qualifications not verified. Yep, exactly. And so it's all smoke and mirrors, dude. It's all an internet presentation. It's bullshit. And you know what? For those of you guys who are willing to listen, we're going to cut right through all that bullshit and deliver good results in your life. All right. My guys that work with me, as well as me, we have the fucking actual receipts, and I don't throw them all around out there because I know how many frauds there are. Do you know what I mean? But we're doing life at a different level. You can too. Okay. But we're going to cut through all of the smoke and mirrors internet crap to deliver the goods. All right. That's what we're doing here. You are correct. They go to her because she's attractive. You got it. That man giving up that ball in front of his son was hard to watch. Yeah, for me too. It was. But had he told her no, would the story had gone anywhere? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows, right? I mean, who knows? Listen, I'm not saying there wasn't good outcomes here. Do you know what I mean? There were some good outcomes from it, but that doesn't mean you act like a bitch in front of a Karen that's trying to take something that isn't hers. See what I mean? Like those two things don't have to go together. Maybe, you know, who knows if it would have escalated to anything, right? Who knows if he, you know, if it would have, I mean, it depends, I guess, right? But if you realize that we're all just glorified monkeys floating on a big dust ball in space, then relationships become very easy to understand. Yeah, that's correct. Understanding our primal mammalian parts of ourselves is very important. Then, of course, that one. All right. Good to see you guys. All right. Well, again, jump on my community. The link is in the description. Let's cut through all the bullshit. Let's stop. You know, if you are struggling in your life, don't get caught up in simping for internet clout, especially not from women. All right. Let's get a group of guys. Let's get you in with a group of dudes who are doing life different, and let's start getting some work done. All right. It starts with that step of clicking on that link to get in the community. It's a no cost thing. All right. And it gets you started. All right. So that's it. Until next time, you guys have a good rest of the week.